Hey everyone, in this video I'll detail a little bit more about the turning right principle that you practice when you're doing standing and walking meditation. So that's a type of meditation. So while you are in samadhi, you basically are aware of everything that's going on around you. You're concentrating very, very deeply, and you basically walk, and as you walk, you meditate. So while you're doing this, and eventually you'll get to a stage in your practice where you'll be practicing in samadhi, and I use a lot of terms, and you might have to research all these terms such as samadhi, and I won't go into detail necessarily about what all these terms mean, and that's an element of research that you can do using that tripod of YouTube, Wikipedia, and Google. So, while you're practicing in samadhi and advancing in that meditation while walking, um, there's that principle that I've detailed in my last video, which is to always turn right. So, why do you always turn right? It's the same principle a little bit about finding your way through a maze, right? You always turn in the same direction, right? And this direction, the right direction, is as that right direction suggests, is turning right. So that's something I've discovered through practice and led me to the attainments on my path. So why do you always turn right? And the reason is because while you're navigating the Kalachakra, if you will, right, that golden sphere, that construct where elements of space, so basically those little cubes I've described in past videos, move around within the Kalachakra, you're actually unable to see that movement here in the physical world. So you have to use a system basically to navigate and to essentially get towards the center of the Kalachakra, right? Or the center of the maze, if you will, right? Everything's in movement. Everything's extremely complex. All these cubes of space are moving around, and you have these pathways that you can navigate to essentially move within the Kalachakra, right? And everything's happening at high speed. So you have to have a system to essentially move forward and to move forward in the right direction, which is not necessarily always necessarily taking one point and moving in a straight line, but basically navigating a path that'll eventually get you there. So that path is basically followed by turning right. So I've detailed how you turn right as much as possible when you're practicing your yoga practice. One technique that I found was very useful is in samadhi. What I would do is every time I would get to an intersection, basically, or in samadhi, identify a point where I needed to turn, right? And that's going to be part of your practice, is identifying when you need to turn. So it's not necessarily always at an intersection, for example, here in the physical world. It's when your path needs to turn, right? And practicing that, you'll get to that point eventually where you'll be able to identify when you need to turn. So if you're not getting to intersection where you turn right, at that point, let's say you're walking on that path, and let's say you decide, now I need to go backwards, right? Or I need to go sideways or off the path or something like that. Well, at that time, what you're going to do is you turn on yourself, right? So you twist your body sideways, right? And at that time, what I would do is I would use the namaskar. So I would put my two hands together at my heart, right? And essentially use that technique to meditate, to concentrate, to focus my concentration, if you will. And at that point, I would turn to the right, right? And then depending, you have that 360-degree turn that you can make, right? So at that point, through meditation, through practice, through sadhana, you'll and samadhi, you'll be able to identify eventually with time and with practice. You need to practice this. How many degrees you turn, to which direction you go, and at that point, you step out of your turn to the right and move forward again. So you're actually navigating that. So when you become enlightened, you actually visualize yourself navigating the maze, if you will, and you actually see yourself, see your body in a way, with walking through that maze, right? With actually red boots, if you will, or leaving red foot marks as you're moving through the maze. So that's one of the things that you'll visualize eventually. If you get enlightened, you actually visualize your movement through the maze, through the Kalachakra, if you will, through that level, and basically leaving those red foot marks that are basically tracing your path, and eventually following that system of turning to the right and turning on yourself to the right when you want to make a turn. You'll eventually learn to get to where you need to go, so to your end achievement, right? So that's why I thought I'd share that. Just this follow-up video, just to follow up on the past one, just a little bit more information, talk about the visualization of the maze, right? Walking through the maze and leaving those red those red marks, if you will, as you trace your path through the Kalachakra, through the maze, if you will. You know, it's not an easy thing that to necessarily attain all these things. So you want to use all the techniques that I detail on this channel to get you there. You know, you don't want to be wasting time. You know, why waste time when you cannot waste time? So use these techniques to your benefit. And like I say in that first video on this channel, you know, get creative about it. But what you really want to focus on is learning to concentrate, right? Concentrate. And when you can fine tune your concentration and get to those levels of samadhi, if you will, at that point, your practice will increase in effectiveness, and you'll basically reduce the time that it takes to get from one achievement to the next exponentially. And as you get better and better, you'll start attaining more and more objectives, if you will, or moving down along that path at a much faster speed. And that's why things accelerate as you progress through your practice, and you start achieving these different things faster and faster, to a point where you get where everything is just incredibly following up one achievement after the other, one attainment after the other, and that's what I call really being in the zone. And that's when you really push through on your practice. You know, okay, now I'm here, now I need to get through these steps, I need to push through, I can't stop, can't get interrupted, I really have to get to the next step. And then you'll see that one step succeeds the other in rapid progression, and you're basically getting into the zone, if you will, where you're going to get to your objective, which is enlightenment. So just wanted to share that with everyone. You know, use that technique, turn to the right, just turn to the right, and basically visualize it this way. You know, you're in the Kalachakra, you're in this sphere, you're in this square within the sphere, if you will, which is your space, right, that you occupy. And that square is moving through the Kalachakra in pathways, right? And there's different pathways, and everything's moving very quickly. You can't occupy the same space as something else. So what you do is you have to actually follow these pathways. So you're moving through the Kalachakra. And for example, if you get to one place that's blocked, then you have to basically move up or down or sideways, or right, and basically move to next level, next pathways, right? So you have to sometimes get to a different space, occupy that space, that pathway appears as things free up, and then you can move forward again. So it's not necessarily one straight line that you follow. It's more like identifying the paths that you need to take, and you need a map to do that. And because you can't see the Kalachakra while you're doing your practice, you can't visually follow a map, right? So you need to have that system to basically navigate the system, to navigate the movement of everything, and it's extremely complex. So at that time, what you want to do is you want to start turning right, like in a maze. To get to solve a maze, you always turn in the right direction. That same concept is applied while navigating the Kalachakra. So there are a lot of different elements involved here. You know, you have samadhi, you have meditation, you have the time you put into it, you have the techniques that you use, right? And all these things. So there's a lot of different steps. So it's not just turn to the right all the time. It's, you know, follow all those other steps that I've detailed, you know, on how to practice, how to concentrate your mind, right? Eventually it's also keeping your body in a good enough shape that you can actually go through all these things, right? Push through when you have to, you know, all these different elements, you know, but one of the big elements is really learning to concentrate, right? It's really to apply yourself, to focus, because when you're getting to that samadhi, your focus has to be really finely tuned so that you can be sensitive enough and focused enough to notice what's going on at what time, when it's time to turn, right? And you basically, if you want to put in a sense, you basically feel it. You learn to feel it, right? You learn to navigate this path, right? Because you can't see it visually with your eyes. So you have to have the techniques and the attention, basically the discipline to navigate it. And that'll get you to your achievement at the end. Okay, so remember, always remember, when you're navigating and when you need to turn, you follow the turn right principle. And at that point, you'll be able to go forward like that. Now, in my last video, I talked a little bit about what foot to put forward when you emerge from your right turn, so from your spin, right? So do you emerge with the right foot or do you emerge from the left foot? And I'll tell you almost 100%, almost every single time you want to emerge with the right foot, right? That's why they call it the right foot and not the wrong foot, okay? So you want to basically push out, if you want, from your turn with the right foot. There are some rare exceptions where you may need to use the left foot, and through your practice, you'll be able to identify those if those moments ever happen, okay? And when they do happen, but follow the right foot, and until such a time as you're able to identify when you need to emerge with your left foot, you emerge with your right foot, right? It's always the right principle. You turn to the right and you emerge with your right foot once you emerge, okay? And then that's it for basically that technique, okay? That strategy, that way of navigating through the Kalachakra, if you will, to get to the center, okay? And at that point, there are many different elements, so learning to push through, push forward, right? And all these different things. And you'll have to basically learn to understand and apply all of these different principles. And the best way to do that is through practice, right? So I never said that you'll achieve enlightenment on your first day of practice, right? What you will achieve is you'll achieve results if you use the proper techniques and the proper instruction as I've been providing it, right? You know, when I was first practicing, I would have been very happy to fall on this channel and to learn all these things, right? So it's really a pleasure to be able to share it for everyone, and I wish you all the best results. Thanks.